The applause was still echoing through the streets of New York City as Zohran Mamdani stepped off the stage, a historic victory freshly etched into the city's history. Cameras flashed, supporters cheered, and for a moment, it felt like the world had finally stopped to listen. But behind every bold speech, every daring campaign move, and every fearless challenge to powerful forces stood a story few people knew: the story of his family. Zohran's journey wasn't just shaped by neighborhoods or schools, it was sculpted by the extraordinary people who raised him. His father, Mahmood Mamdani, wasn't just a scholar, he was a thinker who challenged norms, a man whose words could dissect centuries of injustice with surgical precision. Mahmood taught Zohran the value of critical thought, of questioning systems, and of seeing the world not just as it was, but as it could be. Dinner table conversations weren't about cartoons or chores, they were debates about history, culture, and responsibility, lessons in thinking deeply before acting boldly. And then there was his mother, Mira Nair, whose artistry and vision gave Zohran a window into the human heart. A filmmaker whose work resonated around the world, she showed him the power of storytelling, the way a single story could ignite empathy, stir courage, and inspire change. Watching her transform ideas into films, Zohran learned that narratives mattered. Stories had weight, and when wielded wisely, they could challenge the status quo and shift minds. Growing up in a household that fused scholarship with creativity was like living at the intersection of two powerful currents. One current demanded rigor, logic, and evidence, the other demanded imagination, vision, and emotional intelligence. It wasn't always easy. At times, the intellectual debates clashed with artistic philosophies, and Zohran had to find his own voice in the middle. But these challenges became his training ground. They taught him resilience, adaptability, and the courage to carve his own path while carrying the lessons of his parents. When Zohran moved to New York City as a child, he carried more than just his luggage. He carried the values instilled by his parents: the importance of education, the courage to speak truth to power, and the empathy to understand lives very different from his own. These lessons shaped his worldview, fueling his commitment to social justice, housing rights, and the welfare of marginalized communities. His victories in local politics weren't just personal triumphs, they were a reflection of the intellectual and moral compass gifted to him by his family. Today, when Zohran stands before the city, addressing thousands, challenging powerful figures, or making policy decisions that affect millions, he is not just a politician.
Whose inspiring story of politician would you like to hear next? Tell us in the comments below.